Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We are going to do part one of our full set Kaldheim set review. But first, if you would, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. If you are a fan of Jake and Joel Are Magic, head on over to Patreon. Any level gets you access to the Discord. There's giveaways. You get your name in every video. It's a myriad of good stuff.
Myriad, nice word right out of the gate. You're starting strong with the words.
I'm learning more words during this quarantine. I do words more. You know, I pick ones that I like, and thankfully Magic the Gathering does use pretty much as many adjectives as possible. And so you have to learn in this game whether you want to or not. We're going to talk about all the fun cards that have come out of Kaldheim thus far. We're not going to put a lot of emphasis on commons and uncommons and chafe, but we are going to talk about the cards that we think are notable.
Chaff or chafe?
Whatever the hell they say.
Let's swap over and look at these cards. So, like Jake said, we are not going to linger too long on commons and uncommons. We are going to mostly focus on what we think are going to be players in EDH primarily, some constructed discussion as well, and we're going to make sure that we definitely hit all the mythics, probably hit all the rares, and we'll go from there. A lot of these cards we have talked about in prior videos, so some of them we might glaze over. First one up, though, Jake, Nico Aeris. This is not a card that I have put into a video yet. This is not a card I've spent a ton of time analyzing, and so I definitely wanted to have a discussion with you about this because this is a 3-cost planeswalker, and we've seen in the past 3-cost planeswalkers dominate, especially within the last 2 years. So having a blue-white X 3 loyalty Nico Walker, whenever Nico Aeris enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. +1 up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked, so it's got offensive implications there. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So that's weird. -1, maybe ETBs again. -1, Nico Aeris deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. And -1, you can create another shard token. Now, it is important to note, we need to go to this one so we can see what a shard token is. Yeah. They're like, enchantments. They are enchantments like, with 2 sack it, scry 1, draw a card. So they're like clues, but not quite as good. Clues were 1 to sack and draw a card, right? Am I mistaken on that?
Clues were 2.
Oh, clues were 2. So I mean, you're paying 2, scry 1, draw a card. That actually seems pretty dope. Then, if that was the payoff,
this is nice. Yeah, this is. They took the clue, and they put a scry on it. So that's neat.
This is nice. An interesting card.
Enchantment. Or instead of an artifact, it's an enchantment. So yeah.
Right, yeah, we'll still have some constellation implication, rhyme, with Theros still being in standard as far as the standard application of Nico, and that's mostly the lens that I kind of look at this Walker through. I don't think that this has much impact in EDH. This will be a very low-played card in EDH, but I do think that it's going to at least be tested in standard because of that. The synergy alone with that 2 white, 1 other comes into play, exile a permanent 3 or less, I think, and then they get when it leaves, they get a token creature or something. I mean, for this creature, it doesn't matter because it ETBs, you make it unblockable, it swings, deals damage, comes back, ETBs again, right? And it's exiling
it's really
their best stuff.
For ETB abuse, if you're trying to get the most out of that kind of thing, and can't be blocked is relevant in my opinion. Yeah.
It's
2
weird.
Damage to target tap creature for each card you've drawn. Yeah. It seems fine.
It's a strange card to me because it's one like Dovin back in the day. Dovin was like this offensively minded planeswalker, but in colors that mostly lent themselves to defense. I mean, there's not been, besides mono white in recent years, there's not been a ton of really aggressive decks. Even the blue attacking deck, that mono blue thing that was running around really rampant like a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, with dive down and the like. So it was around Ixalan time. That deck, it only needed mono blue. It ran those 1/1s, and it was basically a counterspells deck because you were just drawing a bunch of cards off of Curious Obsession. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm definitely going to be playing this in the early access event. Side note, we will be part of the early access event, so check our Twitter for schedules on that. And we'll see how Nico does. Jake, we can talk about Valky, God of Lies. I actually broke this whole thing down for a video. You want to read this one?
Yeah, this one's super fun. 1 black, 1 other. When Valky enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card. They revealed this way until Valky leaves the battlefield. And for X, choose a creature exiled with Valky with converted mana cost X, and Valky becomes a copy of that card, and it flips into Tybalt, which is its whole big bunch of stuff as well. A red, a black, a 5 for 5 loyalty. As Tybalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with you may play cards exiled with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. +2, exile the top card of each player's library. -3, exile target artifact or creature. -8, exile all cards from all graveyards and add 3 red mana. Yes, you can cascade into this because it checks the front of the card, and then you can put the backside down. So Demonic Dread, Bloodbraid Elf, cards like those, but you have to kind of build your deck into subpar strategies in order to really pull it off well. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a good combo card. I think in Commander, the card has a lot of potential. It is red-black, so it's not pigeonholed into being a monocolor card.
Yeah, it is proof that, like you said, Jake, MTG cards have words, luckily, and this one's got a lot of them. I did a whole video on Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, and Valky, God of Lies in EDH. For constructed, Valky being on 2 mana is pretty good, but Tybalt being on 7 is really tough, especially in these colors. Maybe you can go Jund and get some ramp going. I don't know. We'll see the applications.
Tough because it's like you get this fun effect that lets it become a copy of a card that was exiled. You get a little bit of a choice there because you are exiling creature cards that they revealed from their hand. So there is a little bit of potential, but again, it's pretty chaotic. It's pretty random. The front of the card, the absolute gas is on that Tybalt, but again, at 7 mana, it's kind of a lot. We'll see how the card does, though. Again, you can cascade into it, so I'm sure there's going to be some players that are trying to figure out a way to get Tybalt online as soon as possible.
I think I want this version in foil as my EDH commander, because I'm definitely going to build this. This version's really dope, too. I mean, Valky looks awesome in this shot. Anyway, we had talked about some of these in some of our early set reviews. Sigrid, God Favorite, is going to be probably, if white is a playable color there and there's enough support around it, this card is going to be super dope in Standard. Flash, First Strike, Pro Gods. Enters the battlefield, exile an attacking or blocking creature until it leaves. It does so much that you want in Standard. Same thing with Old Growth Troll, 4/4 for 3 with Trample. I mean, with just that, whatever this downside is, we don't care about. And then look, haha, it's not a downside. It's actually more value as the card goes on. It's ridiculous how much power green gets lately. Dies if it was a creature, return it as an aura enchantment to a forest that lets that forest tap for 2 until you want to pay 1, sack that forest, and get a 4/4 with Trample. Ridiculous. Cole the Forge Master looks really dope for 99 for the 99 of an equipment attacking build. Wylith is where I would say this card.
So nice.
Oh yeah, dude. I actually wish this card was better because this art here looks like some kind of awesome movie poster, and I really want this card just as a collectible in foil. But yeah, it's disappointing that it's not a little bit better.
On that card, as far as an uncommon goes as well.
We got changelings there. Oren, God of the Cosmos, is our 5 mana Odin allegory. We got 2 blue, 3 other for a 1/1, gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Really good. Other side is Hakka, Whispering Raven, 1 blue, 1 other, 2/3 flyer. Whenever Hakka, Whispering Raven deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand, then scry 2. So, goodness gracious, you've got this great bird attacker on one side that when it punches, it's going to deal 2, but then you get to return it to the hand and scry 2, and you can replay it if you want, or then the bird goes back and whispers in Oren's ear, they've got enough mana to cast you now, and Oren comes out, and you're going to get, 3 cards in hand. This is a 4/4 after you cast Oren, and you're in blue, so it's likely going to be more like 4 or 5 cards in hand, and then it just goes up from there. And then you're able to put cards from the top of your library into your hand. EDH playability, this is probably a solid 99 card if...
Yeah, what I'm thinking is solid in the 99, but not... Like, I'm not super high on it. I feel like I'm missing something as to where it's, like, really good.
I just don't like it as the commander just because it's one color. The thing I do like about it for EDH is it is a card designed for Foretold that doesn't have to have 100% Foretold cards in the deck, because it'll check for cards in your hand as well. And none of the rest of the card has anything to do with Foretell. It just happens to add this one little ability on. So I do like that about the design. Obviously the art is so sick to me.
The art's great. Sure. Yeah.
It just doesn't get me hyped, but I do think that, this is the kind of card that I'll misjudge right now, and then in 4 months I'm going to be like, oh my god, I'm so tired of playing against Oren control.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I'll read this one, Elvish War Master, because I know Joel's reading a lot. 1 green, 1 other for a 2/2 creature elf warrior. When 1 or more other elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. What happened with the spacing on elf warrior? Did they miss a spacing there?
Yeah, it's funny because they've got space right here too.
What happened?
It's a
only once each turn, and for 2 green and 5 elves you control get +2/+2 and gain death touch until end of turn. A nice little mana dump for any sort of infinite mana there. A great way to get value if you don't have any cards to play. I think it's a fine card.
It's great that it's non-legendary, because this card you want in multiples because you're just going to get these like compounding interest on it. Pretty sick. Good elf card. Binding of the Old Gods.
Yes.
This is one of those first. This was one of the first cards we saw that was an uncommon saga, and gave us a hint at the power level of these uncommon sagas to come. It's kind of ridiculous. I guess they just didn't want the rare slot to be sagas because some people might not think they're as exciting of a card type, but I personally love them. I think that these are essentially like the balanced version of designing a planeswalker so that you never have to worry about your planeswalker being broken. Just put it on a saga. Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
1 green.
I like this card is fine for me in that first phase. I'm fine after 1 lore counter for the casting cost in like a standard format.
So it's 4 mana. You get to destroy a non-land permanent. Then in your second phase, you get a forest onto the battlefield straight up. And then in your third phase, who cares? But all your creatures you control can gain death touch. Silly. I mean, this is a pack 1 pick 1 potential for me in draft.
Filters your deck, kills anything. That says non-land permanent.
Yeah.
Like, versatility, baby. So good.
Here's shock to a creature or planeswalker, but it's a lightning bolt if you have 3 or more snow permanents. We've seen Vargoth before. This is gonna, on an attack trigger, gonna go shuffle your library or search for a card, then shuffle your library, put it on top. So we got a little vampiric tutor on a stick action happening here. Legendary, so you're not gonna be able to run it in 4s, but I think it's got some potential. It's a cool design. I'd like to see it in action. Has absolutely my favorite showcase art, I think, awesome, of the entire set. I'm going to be so hyped to pull that one. Serap's Packmate is using the Foretell to draw a card. Oren's Epiphany. Now this one's interesting because, Jake, we've talked about this one, I believe, in one video, but this seems like it's going to be, you know, a potentially annoying card that we're going to have to play against forever, or it's just not going to be that good because you got to pay 2 to foretell it. You can't foretell it in the same turn, but creating 2/1/1s, taking an extra turn, it does exile itself, so at least it's not going to go crazy infinite.
Yeah, I do like when spells like these exile themselves. I think that that's important. We don't want to find ourselves in one of those situations where someone's like, look how I broke the extra turn cards.
Right, yeah, exactly. Vorinclex is doubling season on a trampling Hastings 6/6 Phyrexian. So, you know, 6 mana goes a lot longer in green, a lot further in green nowadays, Jake. I mean, Terra Stomper, what was that? That was like the best we could do back in the day. with a big green creature, and now it's like trample, haste, so much text that we had to put it really small.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Oh man, I love that showcase frame and that alternate art. I think
that one's up there for me.
From like the past couple years is that Wizards of the Coast have really stepped into this alternate art phase of doing things. I think, you know, we saw
money.
Yeah, like Japanese War of the Spark, and that was just like where they really were like, okay, how about a bunch of cards have alternate art? It wasn't like Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch and, you know, all of those sets where they came up with these masterpiece things. It became very like mainstream, just like in a regular box, you're going to find alternate art cards and stuff. And so, yeah, it's an interesting direction.
Yeah, it really is. Behold the Multiverse is our Foretell, scry 2, draw 2. I can't remember what this spell was called 2 years ago, but this spell pops up every now and then, and this time it's got the set mechanic on it. 3/3 flyer for Foretell 2. It's pretty sweet. Going to be limited. Glimpse of Cosmos is pretty cool because if you control a giant, you can cast it again for just 1 mana from your graveyard. So there's definitely a shoehorned in blue-red giants deck into this set. This is one of the cards that they've shoehorned in to deal with, you know, to be part of Izzet Giants. We'll see more cards about Izzet Giants later, and we can talk about it then. Snow-covered lands, snow-covered dual lands. Hooray!
So as
Reflections.
we scroll past these, I just want to say to everybody hanging out, if you are just now joining the stream, we're just in the middle of a video. We're going to catch up on chat just as soon as we get done. So everybody hang out. Hope you're enjoying the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got our searchable 2-color snowlands, Reflections of Lit Jara. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen,
these lands. I just want to say this before we glaze over these. This is a pretty big deal for snow-covered permanents and stuff. So it's just like, and the fact that you can search these. I get that they enter the battlefield tapped, but searchable, like that's nice. That's really really nice.
Huge. Yeah, I wish they had been shocks, obviously, but I don't know that I want my rare land slot in this set to be snowland shock lands, but maybe I don't know.
Exactly.
Reflections of Lit Jar is a card we've talked about. We have a video on the channel. Go check it out. That kind of breaks down it and some fun combos. But you're choosing a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. Ridiculous. Permanents coming into the battlefield. Glittering Frost is adding mana. Goldspan Dragon's another one where we have a whole video on the channel. Right. But this one is a huge EDH infinite enabler. The fact that treasure tokens can tap for 2, it just seems redonkulous. This is going to be a card I think that goes straight into EDH. I'd be interested to see if the good deck brewers are going to be able to break this in Constructed, because that would seem pretty fun to me, and it might pull me back into Standard if there's a Goldspan Treasure Dragon, you know, deck to play.
I love 4 for 5 too. I mean, that's it's not a bad card by itself, but the fact that it does double your treasure tokens, or not doubles the tokens themselves, but doubles the mana that the tokens produce. It just very easily goes infinite with any spell that can target it, and then any one cost spell that can target it, and then bounce the enchantment back to your hand. Yeah, it's a very, very strong card.
Yep. Giants Amulets, this kind of Phyrexian equipment thing going on. 1 blue enters the battlefield. You can pay 4. If you do put a 4/4 onto the battlefield, then attach it, and the creature gets +0/+1 and this creature has hexproof if it's untapped. It's got an equip of 2. This seems really good for like some kind of spell casting residual creature that's not supposed to be attacking. 1 blue to cast it, 2 to equip. I know it's an uncommon, but I did want to mention it for that you know, there are commanders that all you want to do is play them, hit the battlefield, and then they do their thing. You never want them to tap. And so the fact that for 1 blue and then a 2 equip, we can give it an extra toughness, which is negligible, but that creature has hexproof. That's pretty sweet. Just redundancy in EDH so that you can protect your like spellcaster or passive ability commander, really however you're building that. Calamity Bearer continues this giant theme. Giant source you control would deal damage to a permanent player, deals double that damage to that permanent player instead. It's fun. Yeah, you know, it's not going to be a 4 of. Absolutely. Forge the Tyrite Sword. This is another one of these uncommon sagas that's so ridiculous to me. 1 white, 1 red, 1 other. First 2 phases, create a treasure token, ramp, and create treasure tokens, which is a relevant token type in this set for 3 mana in white and red. That's nuts to me. Then you can go search your library for a card named Halvar or any equipment and then go put it into your hand. So you get treasure to make sure you can cast Halvar or the equipment or whatever. And then you get to go get either that god, which has the sword on the back, don't forget, or an equipment card. It's kind of nuts to me for uncommon.
This is interesting. Yeah. Red, white, 1 other for create 2 treasure tokens in the first 2 steps of the saga. Yeah, and I love that versatility. You don't have to be pigeonholed into Halvar God of Battle.
No.
You could just end up liking this for equipment-based strategies and playing it just for 2 turns of ramp and then a big, nice, splashy spell.
I think foils of this will be a good pickup.
That's right, exactly.
Exactly. Go find Sunforger. Done. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's what I'm saying. I think that this is going to be an EDH playable card. I think it's potentially a standard playable card, but I do think this is going... I would look at foils of this card because equipment decks, red, white, specifically equipment decks, they've been really trying to give them a lot of tools lately from a bunch of different angles. And now with Wyleth being probably the strongest Boros commander I've personally ever seen. My favorite, I guess I should say. I won't say it's the most powerful, but because there are some other really good options. But my personal favorite, Wyleth, being low to the ground and helping you draw cards, which is a drawback in these 2 colors. A searchable thing after you get to ramp, which is another drawback in these 2 colors. I think it's an EDH playable card for that strategy.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's really good.
Here's our other land cycle.
Yeah. Stronghold, sacrifice it, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. They gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. That's not a bad effect on an uncommon land.
No, it's not. It enters tapped, but, it is what it is. Raven Form is our exile effect in blue, man. Exiling an artifact or a creature, and the controller creates a 1/1 bird token, whatever. Pay 2 for Tell It. At least it's not an instant, right? You want to talk to us about Trickster God's Heist?
I want to talk one more time about that red-white that tutors up the equipment.
Oh, yeah. Still going on Forge the Tyrite Sword.
Well, I was just thinking about it, and really, it lets you have versatile equipment. So you can run like 3 or 4 one-off equipment if you wanted to, just to have versatility in the deck for certain situations. Is there a certain equipment you need to grab that's going to answer whatever? Is there a certain equipment you're going to grab that's going to give you certain abilities that you're going to need? Is there
people
a
have been running
that you want to go grab?
What's the thing? Yeah. What's the card from Theros Beyond Death? The equipment in that Shadow Spear? Shadow Spear? That's a thing, right? Shadow Spear.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's Shadow Spear.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing. So it gives you that toolbox effect that I really like. That has to do with just, do you need to be pro green, pro black? Then run 1 copy of Feast and Famine. Do you need to be pro red, pro blue? Run 1 copy of Sword of Fire and Ice. Because if you're running 4 of these, and most likely you are, go tutor up the equipment that's going to give you the answers. I love cards like this because it opens up slots in the deck where normally you would want to have that redundancy, but that's one of the attractive things about, Stoneforge Mystic and cards like this. So,
yeah, for sure. And then when you've also got equipment like Maul of the Skyclaves from the last set going to be in standard at the same time, you're going to have this like crazy, exactly. And all you got to do, like you said, is run one or 2 copies, probably 2 to 4 if it's Embercleave, because you just want to see that every game, but cards like Maul of the Skyclave, you can just run 1. Trickster God's Heist, yet another very powerful seeming uncommon saga.
This one. You can save your voice. 1 black, 1 blue, 2 other for a saga. And what do we call the phases of a saga? All right, first lore counter, you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. Second lore counter, you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. And then you get a nice 3 life loss for your opponent, 3 life gain for yourself in that 3rd phase of the saga. So pretty fun saga here as well.
Yeah, exchanging control of stuff just feels so bad. I don't know if this one will see a ton of play. 4 mana and it might not hit is kind of a bummer. You know, if that was more about destruction than exchanging, I could see it being a more likely playable card. But, you know, you never really want to go into this and be like, well, crap, I don't even have a creature on the battlefield right now. Maybe ways to create tokens would be good in this, because
you want to make sure that you have tokens. Like for me, I really like this in like a Grixis control with like Saheeli, you know, that's going to be creating servos passively whenever you cast non-creature spells and that kind of situation. Right. Because then, yeah, trade a servo for whatever their gas is, and most likely you have a servo. But yeah, I do agree with you. Or also any kind of situation like with, I don't know, Dreadhorde Invasion. Anything that's going to passively make like some stupid little amass token, or even a fairy off of Bitter Blossom.
Yeah.
What's nice about, you know, the cards like those is, you know, it's inconsequential. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You do want to be able to make sure that when you play that and you go through the first chapter, that yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It might
definitely
be good.
Want to have something to do.
It seems like a sideboard card. Seems like a sideboard card.
Path to the World Tree is an enchantment to go get a basic land, put it in your hand, and then you can sack Path to the World Tree with all 5 mana +2, gain 2, draw 2, lose 2 from an opponent, deals 2 to one target creature, get a 2/2 bear. Silly card. Fun card, silly card. I doubt we're gonna see much play out of that one. I do think we're gonna see play out of this one in a couple of different ways. Varkell is a 2 green, 2 other legendary 3 loyalty Tyvar. Elves you control have tap, add a swamp mana. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on a target elf, untap it and it gains death touch until end of turn. 0 to create a 1/1 elf warrior creature token. So it does your favorite thing that Planeswalkers can do, which is protect itself at the outset. And then -6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf, it gains haste and you draw 2 cards. Ridiculous. This has, for 4 mana, this is really strong. For 3 mana, this would be Busto. I really love this passive here of all of our elves are suddenly mana dorks. You know, dropping this on turn 4, you need to have honestly played an elf on turn 1, an elf on turn 2, and maybe 2 elves on turn 3. And then you've got a Varkell, drop a land, play Varkell, and you've got 4 mana left on top of that to do some other shenanigans with. So interesting that way.
Really good.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see Historic Elves. I'm not sure if Historic Elves wants this card.
Wow,
it might be a little really win more for that, but it seems really good. I think that, you know, it's going to be good.
The card can protect itself. That's what I really like about it.
I know you love it. We've got our mono green god here, Kolvori, god of kinship. 2 green, 2 other legendary, 2/4. As long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures. Kolvori is a 6/6 with Vigi for 4. Pay 2, tap it, look at the top 6 of your library. You reveal a legendary creature from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. Top 6 is decent. Ringheart Crest is the other side. 2 mana, legendary. As Ringheart Crest enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, add green, spend this mana, only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or a legendary creature spell. Good, not great.
It's fine.
This is probably the one I'm the least excited about.
Yes.
You know, mono green, right? Like it would go well in like a Gods deck, like I was talking about the 5-color Gods deck on the channel. You know, it could go well in the 99 of a legendary based deck, and I know like Legends is a big sub theme for a lot of the 5-color, 4-color decks, so you could go that route with it. But yeah, not super exciting. You got anything else to say about Kolvori, or we'll move on?
Not really. It's anything that's going to pigeonhole me into like all Legends. I just don't like it. I don't want to have to try to make it work, because you need to have 3 or more legendary. Yeah, it's fine for EDH. I think it has a spot in EDH.
Yeah, agreed. Hailstorm Valkyrie is a limited card with snow applications. Sculptor of Winter is a mana dork with snow applications. Cosmos Charger's a flashing, flying 3/3. Foretelling cards from your hand cost 1 less and can be done on any player's turn. So this is relevant because you cannot foretell a card for 2 and cast that card in the same turn with its foretell cost. That's part of the rules text. It does say cast it on a later turn, and they clarified that yes, that means what it sounds like it means. So with Cosmos Charger being able to foretell for just 1 mana and do it at EOT so that on your turn you can cast your foretold stuff, it actually has some relevance. At 4 mana, does it have a place in a competitive standard deck?
It looks really cool though.
It looks really cool. I think that it's a cool foretell deck. This would be one of the cards that I would build around for the early access event, because we want to build the very heavily signaled, is it giants or blue foretold or green black elves, that kind of stuff that they're like, these are the themes of the set. That's the kind of stuff you want to play there. Village Rites reprint. Coma's Faithful, 3 mana, 3/1 lifelinker. When it dies, each player mills 3. Okay. Seize the spoils. Jake,
that's
it's your favorite type of card.
Unlimited. So that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your favorite type of card. Jake, seize the spoils. 1 red, 2 other as an additional cost. Discard a card, draw 2, create a treasure. Sorcery speed. 3 mana. Doesn't quite get there for Jake.
I like the treasure token. But for me, it's like I really love the instant speed.
2 mana instant speed, baby.
Yeah.
Asika, God of the Tree. Jake, you want to read this one?
God of the Tree. Yeah, 2 green, 1 other for legendary creature God Vigilance. It's a mana dork. Add 1 mana of any color. Other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance, and tap. Add 1 mana of any color for a 1/4 that flips over into the Prismatic Bridge. Legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. The reason that you were underwhelmed by that previous god we talked about is because this one is much better. They put
there are
all
a lot
of the
of
power
gods
level into it.
Yeah, this is a very cool one. Having it 3 mana in an EDH game. Okay, so first of all, you got a commander that's going to give you access to all 5 colors, but tells you, all right, let's focus on 1 color first, and then we'll get to the other 5 or the other 4. So Asika comes out on turn 3, hopefully, at the very least, as any color mana dork. It also, if you've got any low cost legendary creatures that are also in the deck, turns them into mana dorks. Then we can be a planeswalker deck. Pretty much you've got planeswalker creature. I know it hits anything. I mean, it can be literally anything.
I do like that 4-cost toughness on the front of the card, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you, man. A little squishy. Like, for these being gods, I don't see this being at like the same tier as any of the gods that we've seen before. Honestly, just that indestructibility, that inevitability, even like Kefnet and the gods that when you kill them, they go into your library like 3rd from the top. Like, this is just, there isn't a lot of inevitability. This god dies to a flame slash. It dies to a go for the throat. So I guess the thing that's godly about it is that there's another side of Asika that is a bridge.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. You're right. They did made them more versatile instead of making them inevitable, I guess is kind of the call there. Koma, Cosmo, Serpent. I just released a video on this today. We did 2 blue, 2 green, 3 other for a 6/6 that's got all the text. Can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, read it. Each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. And then you can sacrifice those serpents you're making to either tap a permanent and its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, or have it gain indestructible until end of turn. Silly card, needs trample. Don't understand why they didn't just throw the word trample on there, because, I mean, come on, look at that thing. Look at that thing.
Well, it has indestructibility built in, and it has tap target permanent, and its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. So
they ran out of rules.
You could do it at instant speed. You could sacrifice another serpent. You could just be like at your upkeep before you activate that planeswalker.
Yeah, exactly.
Tap it. You can't activate anything.
That's how I saw it. That's how I saw it as well. Realm Walker, we've seen. This is our buy a box promo. Choose a creature type. Look at it. This is what Oracle of Moldiah, but for creatures.
Yep.
On a 3 mana cost. There's your Oren. And then we've got the World Tree, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite card from the set that we've seen so far. Jake loves it as well. Enters the battlefield, tap it to add green. As long as you control 6 or more lands, all your lands tap for any mana, which is nuts. And not being legendary, you can play 4 of this, and it's just like cool. So all of my lands are always going to be all mana. Daniel T, thanks for that. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it. And then you can pay white, white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, green, green, tap it, sack it, search your library for any number of god cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. As if that wasn't already good enough. I do have a video of this on the channel. There's a game-winning combo if you can activate this in EDH, and then, Golos is easy to go get a land with. So, this is going to become an actual thing here in EDH. I know it. It's kind of ridiculous. Past that, we've seen the way that this set treats creature types and some of the cards that we've gotten that will make all creatures gods no matter where they are on the battlefield, in your deck, whatever. And so just the ability to do that, and it just seems so broken. Walter, thank you for that super chat. We really appreciate the love there. Jake, what do you think of the World Tree?
Yeah, I think it's a great card. You've said a lot of good things about it. I'll go ahead and on the back end of this put a video if you guys want to check out our World Tree discussion that Joel did, and we kind of break the card down there more. But yeah, the inevitability, being able to make everything a changeling, all that kind of stuff is just yeah, it's gonna be nuts for this card.
Yeah, I want that as a playmat.
Yeah,
I think that would make a really sick playmat
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We got a 5-cost legendary Orzov Angel here. Flying lifelink 2/4. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. This is such a weird ability on a black and white card to me. Second spell each turn, that sounds like a blue ability to me. Maybe red. I mean, in Eldraine, that was a red and blue ability. Look at the top 3.
It's black.
That's blue.
It's that black.
It feels weird, man. This card feels weird. The art is dope.
Card's fine. It's just it's in my opinion a limited card. I'm sure there's some people that are going to run Angels that are going to make it work, but I think
it's an EDH Angels card for sure. Or it doesn't even have to be an Angels card, honestly. EDH, you're casting 2 spells a turn. That happens. Plus, you're going to have a way to refill your hand. Yeah, I don't know. It's 5 mana. There's other ways to draw cards that are better than that in black.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's some people that can't wait to put it in their Angel deck, though, for sure.
Yeah. Cast your second spell each turn, you gain 2 life. Jake, tell us about Saw It Coming here.
2 blue, 1 other for counter target spell, and it has foretell. And what that means is that you're gonna pay this 2 down, or pay this 2 down. That's the words that I learned for this.
Putting on layaway
stream. But no, you're gonna foretell this card for 2, and then later on you just have a counter spell for 2, just hanging out. So as far as foretell cards go that are good, that I think decks are gonna actually want, I do think this is a good spell. There's a lot of turns when you're playing a control deck where you're just taking turns off, you're just not really doing anything. Well, invest this spell. Just, on one of those turns where you're not doing anything, just pay 2 mana. Play this spell for its foretell costs, and then get ready to use it later when you really need it. It's good. Right,
and at worst, it's a cancel in your deck, ready to go. You can still cast it for 3. And I mean, when Ikoria printed the cycling cancel, that's not what it's called, but that's what I've called it because it's a cancel that cycles. Yeah. I mean, that people played that. And so I know that this is like a good 2 or 3 of in your deck, especially if you're running a card like that blue one, like the blue draw spell that foretells. I've lost it now. Behold the Multiverse. So you run a couple of these in your deck. You run a couple of the other ones. They don't know if you've got counter spells. They don't know if you've got card draw. You're running your control deck like a control deck runs, Blizzard Brawl is a fighting card for a green. It's a limited, most likely. If you do control snow permanents, it gains indestructible, so that's relevant if there's a snowy aggro deck. It's very possible. But, Let's check this saga out, Jake. You want to tell us about this saga as well?
Sure. 1 green, 1 red, 4 other for a saga. Destroy target land is the first chapter. The second chapter is put target land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then the final chapter, choose target opponent. If they control fewer lands than you, create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference. And yes, you can ramp into this, which is really nice. The first 2 pretty underwhelming abilities, but that final chapter is pretty good, because most likely you are ramping. If you're in green, you're going to be destroying one of their lands, so most likely that final chapter is always going to be online. And if you are building the deck correctly, then you are going to get a lot of troll warriors, and hopefully those troll warriors are going to be enough to get you to victory. It seems like a good card, and what's really nice about it is it's kind of a sideboard card. It's an expensive sideboard card.
Yeah,
but
this one's a little underwhelming for me. This is going to be, so far, this is going to be my least favorite rare to pull, because it's overcosted, man. It's overcosted because they put destroy target land on there, and I know that destroy target land has to carry a premium because they think that's like the ultimate feels bad, and it kind of is. I could agree with that, but it seems underwhelming. It seems very win more.
Ends with trolls. I do like that ends with like.
This is the most memeable card that we've gotten so far yet, right? Like, we can meme anything onto Waking the Trolls, any of that. That's right. Any drama that happens, that we can go there.
Very much. That is so kind. Again with the super chat.
Gwendolyn, we appreciate that, love. Yeah, we appreciate those positive vibes. Thank you so much. Iron Verdict is 5 to a tapped creature, but it foretells and spends 1 Dece in limited. Actually, I could see this. If a mono white aggro deck pops up, they might want something like this in the sideboard against another aggro deck. If anything is attacking them. I don't know. There's probably better removal for standard, but this is definitely good in limited. I would say take this as removal in limited for sure, right?
Yes, dude. I actually really like. I like it. For me, in a limited standpoint, there's some times where you just want to, invest that mana. You don't have anything to do, and I hate those moments in limited. But I do think that Foretell kind of captures, what you want to be doing, which is just, get this spell out of your hand, cast it later for much less.
Yeah, it's cool too on instants, because you're able to play them the next turn. So you go ahead and foretell the 2, and if you use it at instant speed anyway, all you did was spend the 3 that the spell was, right? But if they pass back to you and you didn't have a target that you wanted to take out with it, all of a sudden you've got 5 damage to a tapped creature for 1 mana, which is dope. So it's the instance that I really like. Yeah, Jake, look at this mean god machine right here. Tergrid, God of Fright, 2 black, 3 other, 4/5 menacing. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control.
Brutal.
Oh, God, stop. The other side can't be as good, can it? 1 black, 3 other. Tap. Target player loses 3 life unless they sack a non-land permanent or discard a card. Pay 4, untap Tergrid's Lantern. This card, spoiler alert, we've got a video on this card and a couple of others coming out tomorrow. It'll be late day, but it'll be out tomorrow. And this card is... It encourages such a feels bad way of building and playing.
This is the best god that I've seen, and it's funny because it's mono black. And let's just say this: I think this, as a 4 of, is all that you need in a control deck. I mean, you need some other sort of win condition just in case, like an Unmoored Ego or a Memoricide type effect, or where they get rid of your win con. But this is, like, in my opinion, all you really need for a win con. Like, say you're about to have a big blowout turn in a control deck. You just play Tergrid, and then you go for the throat, whatever their biggest creature is. You kill whatever their most important thing is, and then you immediately get that card, put it onto the battlefield under your control. Oh, sick. No, never mind. It's discard. It's not a kill spell.
No, it's sacrifices or discards.
Effect. So, yeah. So, say you know, if you're playing a control deck, you kill whatever the small stuff is. Whenever they play their big spell, have a sacrifice effect. Any type of target player sacks a creature, anything like that to get it back.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of a Geth's Verdict, something like that instead of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think this card is very, very good.
It's very good. I don't think it's broken like a lot of people do think. I think, though, that it encourages a type of deck building, specifically for EDH is what I'm talking about, that lends to a very brutal play experience when you're playing against it. I mean, you want cards that we talked about in the video that we shot about Turgid. You want Painful Quandary. You want Necrogen Mists. You want cards that are making everybody discard cards. You want to play this in a red-black deck that's got Wheel of Fortune. Because that's ridiculous. Kroxa, exactly.
Kroxa, dude. Like,
oh my gosh.
Great card in there. Yeah.
It's just so brutal.
And I do think even as a commander, it might have some opportunity, but thankfully, again, they did make it mono black because this card doesn't need any additional fuel, in my opinion.
Grave Pact, whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. So play mono black Turgid Grave Pact, Thrall tokens. Ridiculous. Yep. You're just sacking the Thrall token. Play Turgid mono black Aristocrats. Like, she is an Aristocrats build, and just lean your Aristocrats synergies toward more of like everybody is sacrificing stuff and less into the you're sacrificing stuff, because you can lean it either way you want to. And that, yeah, dude. And this art, for some reason I love this art. It seems simplistic. It's just very clean to me. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like a mobile game almost, but cool, like in a cool way. I'm not trying to dunk on it.
Beautiful art. I'm a fan.
Anyway, this is our Dragon Berserker that we saw in the preview about when it's got Boast, and you can pay 5 to create a 5/5. Boast is the attacking mechanic. Boast is one that I need to play to feel. Boast so far is not exciting me, but it could be good. And so, it's got a lot of the payoffs. If you can pull it off and that creature survives, a lot of the payoffs are good once and they're really good twice. And so we'll see if, there are ways to make them stay alive. We got a common cat here for 3/6 that you can foretell and cast as a 3/6 Vigi for 4. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's a fine card. I mean, I'm not super. It's limited card.
Right. We do have a Seeker's Chariot though.
Yeah, 1 green, 3 other for a 4/4 legendary artifact vehicle. When the chariot enters the battlefield, create 2/2/2 green cat creature tokens. Whenever it attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control, and it has crew 4.
So it comes with the cats to crew it.
Yeah, the 2 cats can crew it. And then what else is nice is Lupine Prototype.
Jake, just so y'all know, Jake cannot even look at a vehicle without thinking about Lupine Prototype, because this card, if you're not familiar...
Why do you have it? How do you have it up?
For 2 mana, it's a 5/5. This is from... What set even was this? Eldritch Moon? I'm not even sure. Or Shadows of whatever it was. It's Lupine Prototype. Nice. It can't attack.
Those are Emrakul's tentacles, I believe.
Oh, don't say tentacles. We've got Lupine Prototype. Can't attack or block unless the player has no cards in hand. But it's a 2-cost crewer. The first time that Lupine Prototype was ever featured on our channel was in a video about Consulate Dreadnought. But I like that this is a 4-cost 4/4. It doesn't have haste, doesn't have trample, which is kind of a bummer. But you're creating token copies, and 4 with a 4 that's relevant. You can't they're not just going to have a 4 power necessarily on the battlefield. 1, 2, and 3 toughness. I would say this is going to die really easily to attacks and to a double block. But the fact that it can crew itself with just casting the card, and you're going to get to at least create 1 more 2/2 cat out of that, and that's like your floor. You'd probably put this in synergies. Be cool. It's really dope art. These cats on here look awesome.
I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I like it very much. But
it's a really hyped card. People are really into it. I don't know if it's because it's the art and it's two cool looking cats, or it's token creatures.
Cats.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say
people
that
love
people
cats.
don't love cats. No, people like cats.
Got an uncommon legendary bird here, Vega the Watcher, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 other for a 2/2 flyer. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. Bird Spirit. Casting cards from exile, casting cards from your graveyard, like maybe an Esper. This is in the 99 of an Esper graveyard thing where you're casting cards from your graveyard, top of your library.
Looks like a way to get value out of the foretell stuff too. Any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely leaned towards foretold. Foretell. I mean, what's the Planeswalker Commander? She has an orrery, I think. I can't remember what it was, but she's top of your deck tribal in EDH. She was a Planeswalker that was printed. I think that this would go really good in the 99 of her, because she was all about setting up miracle cards and Animatu, that's what it was. Yeah, thank you, chat. Animatu. This would go really well in the 99 of Animatu because you're trying to cast cards from the top of your library there, like top deck certain stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Makes sense.
It's an interesting bird because it's going to replace cards in your hand, and just when in doubt of your card design, draw a card on there and you're good to go.
Yep.
Undersea Invaders, a flashing 5/6 that enters the battlefield tapped, so not really a combat trick, but an EOT, I guess, if you don't use the mana for a counterspell. Well, next up, we got a mythic that Jake is super pumped on.
Yeah, it's just 2 red, 3 other for a 5/4. Your opponents can't gain life. Giant Berserker. At the beginning of your upkeep, Quakebringer deals 2 damage to each opponent. This ability triggers only if it is on the battlefield or if it's in your graveyard and you control a giant. So, pretty serious business here. It does kind of pigeonhole you into giants, but I like cards where I'm discarding a card to draw multiple cards, and this is one of the cards that loves to live in the graveyard, which is really nice. So you do have to have a giant, though, in order for that ability to work, but Bone Crusher Giant, we're getting a lot more giant potential here, and I think that this card will probably make waves. I could see it playing alongside like an Arclight Phoenix as well. You could just have Arclight Phoenix alongside some giants. I don't know. I think there's ability here.
Yeah, Quakebringer deck is going to be one of the ones, Jake, that I'm going to build for the early access event so we can play around with it. When I saw this card, so a little backstory, one of Jake's favorite cards in the past 2 or 3 years printed as Bone Crusher Giant. One of his favorite effects ever is Tormenting Voice. I'm just going to sum it up. Faithless Looting, I'll call it that too. And so a deck, a card, a mythic that seems like it was designed specifically for a deck that has Tormenting Voice or Faithless Looting, Bone Crusher Giant, and Quakebringer as like a base, 12 cards? That seems like the kind of deck that Jake is halfway there on already, so I think that this is a really dope card. Being able to foretell it for 2 and then cast it for 4 later is not too shabby either, especially if this is mono red and you're running things like 2 mana damage spells that are dealing damage either to creatures or players, and you're just kind of stalling until you can get to your giants. You're just keeping the board cleaned up and Storm's Wrathing and stuff like that.
That's a pretty big deal too, and we're not really giving that a lot of focus and emphasis, but yeah, that's nothing to shake a stick at. In certain situations, this is going to be a good sideboard card. And as giants get more support in Magic history, I think the card will get better as well. It will be one of those cards where, because the ability triggers only if it's on the battlefield or in the graveyard and you control a giant. So you have to have that giant, but otherwise the card keeps doing things even after you kill it. So it's nice.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I actually hadn't put together, Jake, that if it's on the battlefield, it doesn't need another giant on the battlefield because you control a giant.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a giant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Beginning of your upkeep.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
I really like that card.
Chicken Richard does say more changelings, and I just want to put that into the video as well, just because that is a good important note. We're getting a lot more changeling potential. One of our favorite cards, Maskwood Nexus, which we're going to talk about, creates changelings as well. So that's a pretty big token to create, which is something that's every creature type. Pretty big deal.
Yep. We've got a crazy snow artifact mana thing here. 3 mana for Replicating Ring. Taps to add 1 mana of any color, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you can put a night counter on it. If it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them, and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicated Ring. With tap, add 1 mana of any color. So, this is interesting to me, but it does feel very win more as far as I'm concerned. If you've gone 8 turns, you used your third turn to play Replicating Ring, and then you've gone 8 more turns, so you're at 11 turns, and then you get 8 more mana on your 11th turn. I don't know. It seems very strange.
You win the game.
Yeah, something like that, right? Or tap to deal 10 damage or something. This is it's a sweet card. I do like the idea of this, and honestly, this has way more application in my mind than something like EDH, because you can proliferate those tokens and really get a lot of mana all of a sudden out of nowhere across 8 different artifacts that you can also use into your artifact synergies in EDH, like sacrificing artifacts to do something else. I think that's not irrelevant. Other than that, this one doesn't excite me that much, and I think it was maybe supposed to, but you know, it seems pretty pushed for an uncommon, I'll say that. You know, it's got some potential. MTG pack cracking, hey, we appreciate that, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Cheers to you.
$5 super chat.
Hey, look, Jake, it's that card that's in every set. Broken Wings. Destroy an artifact and enchantment, a creature with flying for 3 at instant speed. Hooray!
Actually, normally that spell costs 2 and it only kills a creature with flying. I will take 1 mana more for better coverage.
Yeah.
I will say that about this card. I will take 1 mana more for better coverage, because a lot of the time you don't want to have to run those kind of effects, especially in a limited standpoint, so they put all 3 of them on the same card. So that might actually be draftable. It may be main deckable in a limited standpoint. So
1 green, 3 other for Spirit of Aldergard. It's a bear that comes in and grabs you a snow land out of your library, puts it into your hand, and it gets +1/+0 for each other snow permanent. So limited snow definitely wants Spirit of the Aldergard. Past that, I'm not really sure about it. 2 mana for an aura.
Steel. I'll say this one. 1 white, 1 other for enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and for 1 white, 1 other exile this from your graveyard. Return another target aura equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So I think this is like the kind of thing where like Aura's decks are going to want like 1 or 2 copies of it. There's a little bit of versatility. It's a little bit expensive for anybody that's trying to just cast a bunch of cheap auras. Normally you like those 1 cost.
Yeah, it's not a Boggles card.
It might be a Boggles card though, as like a 1 of or a 2 of, if you're trying to get that specific like Daybreak Coronet back out of the graveyard, an aura that's really going to be a blowout, like if there's one that you really need. But yeah, it's really tough with cards like these, but I do like that versatility. It does say or equipment, so in certain situations, you know, maybe like a Pure Steel Paladin or like a SRAM kind of situation, there might be some potential here. But yeah, it seems like a fine card. Very good limited card. I like that. Yeah, agreed. I think it's also good in EDH and strategies or equipment decks. I think might want something like this just to return some stuff from their hand. Reckless Cruise, a sorcery to create X 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles you control plus the number of equipment you control. For each of those tokens, you can attach an equipment to it. There's a lot going on here, and the art is silly, and I love it. I particularly I relate to this guy right here, just being like, yeah, I'm a big fan of him. But, you know, what do you got? Equipment and vehicles on the battlefield, maybe 4. That's where I would want this to really pay off, is try to get 3 or 4 so that you're getting 6 or 8 power. They are 2/1s.
Yeah, they're decent. They're decent.
Doesn't crewing come off power? It does, right?
Yep. So it helps with crewing for sure.
In a vehicle build, this is definitely the kind of card, and as we get more vehicles added into the MTG multiverse, these are actually really nice. If you're just trying to crew vehicles and protect your reckless crew, they're ready to blow everything up, hopefully not themselves. But it is nice that they can crew big vehicles that otherwise, I don't know. Something
I like that idea. you're suggesting that it's like you play a bunch of vehicles and the opponent thinks you can't do anything, but then all of a sudden, whoopsie daisy, here comes the Reckless Crew. I can crew them all and swing in a big swing. Yeah, I like that. That's not a bad idea. I hadn't considered that. Considered that. Finishing up Saturday here, we've got Grim Draugrs, a zombie berserker, gets +1/+0 and menace for 2 mana. Rise of the Dreadmarn, Search for Glory, and Rally the Ranks. Rally the Ranks is a 2 mana, choose a creature type, Anthem. Good and makes sense in this set. You know, this is the kind of thing, being 2 mana, it actually might see some play in Standard, but I think it'd be better if it just said creatures you control get +1/+1, but I doubt we'll see a card like that. Search for Glory is your standard search 'em up card to get a permanent that's snow, a legendary card or a saga card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then you gain a life for each mana spent that's snow to cast this. Fine. I love that it goes and gets a legendary. You know, it's got EDH application there if you're playing like Super Friends or, you know, legendary subtype, whatever. I think that that's playable.
The Gatewatch had like Call the Gatewatch, and it had like ways to tutor Planeswalkers, and I know that this has better coverage than that, but yeah, you know, any tutor that doesn't tutor for very cheap or have really good coverage on what you can tutor is going to be kind of lackluster. The coverage here is pretty good, but the tutor price is a little bit expensive.
High. Plus it's slow at sorcery speed. So, you know, it's not, you're rarely going to be able to
life gain on there, right?
Right. Go white. When in doubt, give a white spell life gain. Rise of the Dreadmarn's the last card we're going to go over this time around for part 1 of our set review. 1 black, 2 other, instant speed, create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn, and it's got a foretell casting cost of 1 black. This is an instant. Yo, this card is just
Joel,
like, did you
shut the hell up? You're telling me about a card that doesn't exist, right?
This card is...
You need to shut the... What do they say? Turn off the door, shut on the lights. You need to be done talking about this card. This card is crazy.
Can I tell you how much this is going to get played?
I have to talk about it. I have to do it.
Ahead.
1 black,
Go
2
ahead.
other.
I already read it.
Told us what it does, but dude, this card honestly is crazy. You can foretell this away for 2 early on in an EDH game. Let's break it down like this. Turn 1, Soul Ring this. And now the whole game, you just get to sit on it and wait for that moment. And with all the changeling stuff, with all of the random shenanigans that they're creating with this set, Maelstrom Nexus, all of these tokens are going to enter. So say your opponent goes, let's blow up the battlefield, right? We're going to blow up the battlefield. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to cast Heroic Intervention. My side of the field gains indestructible until end of turn. Then after everything gets blown up, for your foretell cost, you're going to create X 2/2 black zombie changelings because you have Maelstrom Nexus on the battlefield that are going to trigger off of all of your creatures that you saved with indestructible. Bro, this card is nuts.
Yeah, it's also really good in a control shell and even 60 card constructed, quite honestly. You know, run it in a deck where you've got black and white. Foretell it early on when you have a 2 mana counterspell in hand or a 2 mana removal in hand at instant speed. Go ahead and foretell this on your turn. Leave 2 mana open. You know, eventually you're wiping the board with something crazy, and then you, for 1 black mana, EOT, Rise of the Dreadmarn, my turn, and if you hit 10 you win right there if they haven't gained any life. So yeah, this is a silly card. It's got application in many different formats. I think that, you know, this and that counter spell of the cards that we've talked about tonight are the most powerful of the foretell stuff.
Yeah, of the foretell stuff. I was going to say, of what we've talked about tonight, I actually really love that Boros saga. But I'm just like, whenever I'm like, oh, it's Boros, it doesn't have the heat that it needs. But,
right,
you know,
that's always the question. That is always the question. Let's swap back over. That's going to do it for us. Let's close the book right now. Everybody, thank you so much for watching part 1 of our set review for Kaldheim. We are going to be covering all of the cards as they come out. We appreciate it. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Jake, I'm tapped out. Other than that, you got anything else?
Other than that, I am tapped out. We have talked about these cards. We're going to have another spoiler review. Oh, yeah, baby. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah, gonna be great. We will catch you on the flippity flip.